The ongoing financial crisis in Europe is making it very difficult for medium-sized companies to get credit. In Stuttgart, many companies are going straight to the retail investor now with special bond issues. They're bypassing the banks and even the underwriters. To learn more about this type of alternative financing, we welcome Sabine Traub. She is head of primary market group at the Stuttgart Börse. Sabine, how really does Bondem work?
I think you can compare it with a syndicated loan. You have documentation, you need a financial communication, you need support in structuring the bond. And the issuer can use our platform at the Stuttgart Exchange to offer the bond to private investors. The Börse Stuttgart or Stuttgart Exchange is very private investor orientated. And on the other side, there are selling agents who initiate the offering to the institutional investors. Our target is to have the same ratio for private and for institutional investors. And now we have round about 40% of private investors in average in our bonds. But that's very particular to the Stuttgart Exchange. Other exchanges don't have this ratio of 40%. But we are retail investor orientated, and so we want to offer the bonds to a very large basis of private investors. But the time you need to issue a bond is really comparable to a syndicated loan. That means, for example, 5-6 months roundabout.
Is there really much interest from private investors?
Yes, also the private investors are very interested in these bonds because the interest rates are historically low, and these bonds are in the high yield segment, and the high yield segment of corporate bonds is very interesting for the private investors, also for the institutional investors.
Who are some of the companies that have issued bonds on the new segment?
We list companies from all different kind of industries, and this was actually the target of the creation of Bondem. For example, there is Dürr AG or Reif from the automotive sector, Eterna, a fashion company, or Air Berlin, an aviation company, or also Ecosem Agrar, a milk producing and agricultural company. Now we offered 25 companies. We began in 2010 with our first bond offering, and now we had offered, in summary, 25. We were the first mover in this Mittelstand segment, and we were followed by Düsseldorf and Frankfurt. They created similar segments, and the demand is very high, so all the segments are successful.
There have been several defaults on the Bondem segment, although not very many compared with the number of companies that are issuing. What really are you doing to prevent this in the future?
The credit events were exclusively from the solar industry, and the reason is that the solar industry is in a structural crisis, and this has nothing to do with all other industries. And we have rules and regulations which we adapt and update permanently to the requirements of the capital market. But the best safeguard to prevent a default for an investor is education and information. And on our webpage of the Stuttgart Exchange, we give all information an investor need, for example, ratings, rating summaries, securities prospectuses, or general company information.
What are the safeguards for the investors?
The regulations are strict enough for the capital market, but not too strict for a small and mid-sized company to choose the way to the capital market.
What can you really do to increase liquidity on the Bondem segment?
We have at the Stuttgart Exchange a QLP service. These are specialists who provides liquidity. They make a kind of market making light, and they give liquidity into the market and prevent high price fluctuations.
How is the euro crisis affecting bond M trading now?
Yeah, the interest rates are historically low, and the demand for investments in products with an attractive yield-risk ratio are very high. That means that also the demand for high-yield bonds are very high, and bond M is a high-yield segment.
What are some of the companies telling you these days? Are they pretty happy about issuing on this more or less retail platform?
Yes, of course. For example, if a company issued a bond, they have a much better position to their banks to discuss their loans, their bank loans. So it's really positive for companies to go to the capital market. The community knows that the industry needs alternatives to bank financing. If you go in the Anglo-American areas, it's normal to issue bonds. And I think Central Europe is very focused on bank financing, though I think it's the right time to have these segments for small and mid-sized companies.
Sabine Traub, we thank you very much for joining INSEAD Knowledge.
Thank you.